Every day, you and I get bombarded with negative news. And just like our bodies becomes what we eat, our minds become the information that we consume. If you want to stay positive, it's so important that you also listen to stories that inspires you and uplifts you. In this podcast, we interview world-leading experts dedicated to solving the world's most pressing problems. And if you stick around, I promise you will not only be as informed as if you watch the news, you will feel uplifted, inspired, and have more positive energy in your life. Welcome to Great.com Talks with. Welcome. Today, Great.com talks with plogga.se. And Plogga is a environmental and health organization from Sweden that are cleaning up the world with a very special and, for me, fun approach. And you will hear more about that in this interview with their founder, Erik Ahlström. Now, Erik, Plogga is, from my understanding, an organization, but it's also a verb, something that you do, right?
Right.
So tell me about Plogga.
Well, as you can tell, the name is rather fun, isn't it? It comes from a combination of two words put together, and it's plocka in Swedish and jog, and that becomes plogga.
Right.
And but at the same time, you don't really have to run. You only have to change people's attitude and the way they are behaving.
Could you explain what plocka means? So someone understand what it's about.
Plocka is pick.
Pick. So what do you pick?
You pick garbage and you find garbage everywhere. You will, and I told you, Emil, I will never be unemployed. And if people start picking up the garbage, not picking up, plugging up the garbage, then because trash creates trash. If it's trash there, it will continue to be more. But if it's clean, it's going to continue to be clean.
Right. So, Erik, I've spoken with you for 10 minutes now, and you're one of the more enthusiastic people I have spoken to in a long time. Now, I understand you find joy in going out on a November night in Sweden where it's 1 degree and picking up trash and running with a huge smile on your face. But why would anyone else in their right mind take time out of their lives to pick up trash?
The thing is, it's such an easy activity, and plugging burns more calories than normal running. And as I said, with knowing comes caring, and with caring can changes. People probably don't know what happened. That the trash that you find on the streets, I can tell you what that one will end up. Because plugging, it's 5 reasons why it's so important. So it's not only picking up garbage.
Well, now you have my interest. What are the 5 reasons?
Okay. Number 1, we've been picking up garbage for a long time, but we've never really been plugging. And as you know, people are getting more and more. Well, now in Corona times, we're getting more and more. We're not moving enough. We are made to move. So, Emil, it's time for you to stand up. So let's stand up. Okay? I'm actually standing up. Okay, so do me a squat like this.
Squat.
Oh, there you go. As you know, a 40-year-old, you know, only 9% of the 14-year-old Swedish kids are moving enough.
Wow.
And it's 50% of all Swedes are overweight. And why is that? Well, we're not eating the right stuff, and we're not moving enough. So plugging is an activity. It's like picking mushrooms. When you start finding the mushrooms, you find them everywhere. That's the same will as on trash. Once you start finding it, you will never stop. You will get plugging eyes, and you will see it everywhere. And it's the thing is, when you start seeing it, when you start picking it up, you will never stop. So that's number 1. We're not moving enough. So another time to move. There we go. And the right plugger move is you get really strong legs, but run with a purpose.
Run with a purpose. I really enjoy that. Now, I guess a lot of listeners have never even considered taking trash from the street because it's not mine, right? And putting it into a trash can. But what happens with you when you do that? I bet there is some kind of satisfaction.
Yep. And I will try to create everybody to become proud litter pickers. So why should you be ashamed of picking up garbage? Why should you be ashamed of picking up someone else's garbage? It should be the opposite, that the person that throws away the garbage, he or she should be the one that be ashamed. And especially if you start showing people that you are doing it, you're not paid to do it. You do it because it doesn't really belong there, the trash. So if it doesn't belong there, because in a way, you have this, you buy a piece of chocolate. Okay, you buy the chocolate and you buy the wrappers also. But why should you buy the whole item? So why don't you bring the whole item with you home? For instance, in Japan, they don't have litter bins. They bring all the trash home, or they bring it in the little box. But in Sweden, or in the most countries in the world, it becomes like you buy the chocolate bar and the wrapper, but you have to find a trash bin. But why is that? Because that's the way we have it.
I heard about that. It was the World Cup in football, and the Japanese team, they cleaned their dressing room afterwards.
Yeah.
I thought that was a charming story.
That's number 5. I will tell you the 5 reasons. That's one of the fifth reason why it's so important to start plogging.
Well, I actually heard about plogging, but more like plog walking, if that's a thing, from our founder, actually, Erik. So he is the founder of our company. He made 50 million euros before turning 30. But every time we're out walking on the beach in Malta, he stops to pick up trash. And first, it shows me that he's really humble. He really grows in my eyes when I see he is doing that kind of gestures. Yeah, he made me think. I think that's do you see that Plogga has that effect, that when someone sees you put up some trash, that they start thinking as well?
Yeah, the big change, or the how should I explain? The big difference of picking up garbage and plogging is when you're adding the as you know, when you're training or you're running, you will get the adrenaline, you get the endorphin going. So it becomes like a treasure hunt. And it's when I was noticing the first time I was doing this with a couple of friends up in Hammarbybacken, actually, for about three and a half years ago, I noticed something in their eyes. I can see these guys, we were racing for the trash. It becomes like a competition. And then you start, who will find the most trash? Who will find the oddest trash? And who will find the most valuable or the weirdest trash? And I said, this is not a fake. This is for true. We're running on with big smiles and yeah, let's do it. And I said, a lot of people around you that yeah, cheer you on, and you people on cafes or restaurant, people give you a high five. It's such a different energy when you do the plogging activity compared to just picking up garbage. So it becomes like a treasure hunt. And kids normally, they don't move. They're not really good in school, and they're only spending time on their tablets. When you more or less fool them into running and picking up garbage, they become the heroes. So they're so proud of Erik, how long does it take for this plastic bottle to disappear? I said, it takes you 450 years for this plastic bottle to disappear. But it never disappears. It becomes microplastic, and we eat 3 grams of microplastic each week.
3 grams per week. Oof.
That's a credit card.
That is scary. Wow.
So that's number 2. Should we? No.
I want to know all of them, but we have only 20 minutes. But okay. Yeah, keep going. Hit me with another one.
Okay. Number 1, we're not moving enough. Number 2, that's going to be more plastic in the ocean than it's going to be fish, and that's only 30 years from now. It's going to be more plastic in the oceans than it's going to be fish, because most of the trash that's in the oceans right now, they come from land. 85% comes from land, and it flows in, comes from the streams and blows in. And once it comes to the oceans, it's impossible more or less to pick it up. So you had to plug it up before it comes to the oceans. Simple as that. Because the plastic ones, because it's getting more and more of this food on demand, food to go. So we have to change all this plastic industry. Plastic is a great product, but it's so way too cheap.
Right. So let's say someone is listening to this and they are feeling, right, okay, I could go out plugging right now, but there is this huge industry that is just making more and more plastic. What can my contribution really do?
You can, first of all, you have to start picking up the garbage on the streets. Okay, that's number one. And then second of all, you should just had to go from both from the consumer and also from the production line. And for instance, you should always bring your if you go buy a cup of coffee, you should always bring your own mug to bring it. You should never buy a single-use plastic. This is so stupid. You just bring the bottles, bring a thermos or something. Never buy or use stuff that is not really someone has thought about it. It's easy. That's one of the reasons why it's getting more. In Sweden, the trash will increase by 13% in 1 year. Because
Wow.
we're not cooking food as the same way as we did before. Now we're eating it on demand. We put it in our face and then, we drop it there.
I see.
So that's number two, Emil.
Hit me with another one.
Okay, that's number two.
Hey,
Number two.
let's do one squat first.
Okay.
Hey.
Good. Okay. So then normally when I have my lectures, I ask people to stand on one leg and use the fifth sense,
Wow.
and put off your shoes and you should be barefoot. Because one of the problems that trash is getting worse and worse. If you would do the same with your fingers as you do with your feet, you put your feet in a prison 12 hours a day. You put them in shoes that are not made for walking, and we're walking too much on hard surface. We should spend more time in the nature. Then we would not throw away so much garbage. Simple.
I agree.
But we only have 20 minutes.
Let's go.
Okay, that's number two. It's going to be more plastic in the oceans in 30 years if you don't plug it up. Number three, the wildlife. We already killed 60% of all the animals with spines. What do you think happens if you drive your car, you have a bottle of aluminum, throw it out the windows? What do happen to we call that vägren in Swedish. That's one of the words would never work in Sweden. It looks like a war is besides the roads in Sweden. What happened to that aluminum can, you think?
I'm just in a jolly hope that someone is going to take care of it.
Well, it's not. Yeah. What happens? Okay, that aluminum cans, when it comes on side of the road, someone cuts it, right? Mm-hmm. And what happens to it? It becomes really sharp, the aluminum, and then the farmer has all these white big balloons, and then it comes to the farmhouse in the fall or in the winter, and then the cows start eating it. The cows and the horses, they eat this sharp aluminum, so they get cut up inside, so they die. Wow. And 99% of some of the seabirds, they eat plastic because they think it's food, but they starve to death. So one of the reasons why we have so less birds right now, because they are starving to death because they're eating too much of the plastic. And you probably see the oceans is so much full of plastic, and so we're killing so much of that wildlife also. So we are killing the wildlife because we're not plugging it up. Okay, that's number three.
Yeah.
Number four, it costs so much money that someone has to get paid for picking up garbage. I think we could use our tax money for something really better than someone is employed to pick up garbage. Why do people throw the garbage like this? Because they're not proud of where they're living. They're not proud of where they're working. They don't really give a damn. So that's one of the reasons why also we have to get proud. As you said, as a Japanese at the football field, even though they lost the game, they were proud of being there. So they felt like it doesn't belong, and trash doesn't belong here.
And how can someone find that proudness?
And that comes to number five.
Yeah.
Okay, are you ready for number five?
Oh, yeah.
Number five, I call it the broken window theory. Have you heard about that?
Never.
Okay, the broken window theory comes actually from the mayor in New York, and he found it was so much violence, it was so much crime, and it was so much rape, and it was the drug industry was just growing in New York. How could it change that? How could you make that a better world for New Yorkers to live in? First of all, he was taking away all the graffiti. Second of all, he was taking away all the broken windows. And what happened?
Mm.
The drops by the it dropped by the people who was getting not so much crime. The rapes drops also, and people start getting closer, connected. They was getting more friendly. They was getting proud of living in New York. It's if you go to a lecture, like say you go to a big football match, even though you can't really do that in Corona times. But if you do that, and if it's a lot of litter in the field, or if it's clean, you and I would get connected more if it's clean. If it's dirty, we take a bigger distance
mode
from each other.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's called the broken window theory. So that's the 5 reasons why this plugging activity is so important. It's not just picking up litter. It's just the whole concept. We're closing the loop in a way.
Right. And I assume that once you have tried picking up litter, even if it's someone else's litter, it's going to create a mindset of, I want my environment to be pretty. I look around, maybe you see more beauty, maybe you want to nurture your environment more.
And I normally say there's 2 battlefields. Number 1, the battlefield in the cities. Right now I'm down in Gothenburg. We're going to do the World Cleanup Day, and we're going to have a big festival, not a festival, a big plugging event on Saturday in Gothenburg. So everybody's invited. Just check our Facebook page, because we have different plogga events on Saturday where it's the World Cleanup Day. So it's a very important day to show people that we are really caring about the environment. And that's number 1. We are the battlefield in the streets. It's getting worse and worse, but also now out in the nature. We're getting more and more people out in the nature, and a lot of people are not really used to being in the nature. And we can see it's getting damaged. It's getting more litter, and no one is picking up the garbage in the nature, of course, because no one is paid to do that. People paid to do it in the cities, but they don't have enough people, or people are getting more and more lazy. Oh, it's not my trash. I don't give a damn.
Right. And I actually spoke with the organization. I think the organization is called World Cleanup Day, that started the phenomenon. And we were talking about the organization and so on. And then I asked her, what is it like at one of those events? And her whole energy changed. She got so excited and spoke of it as a spiritual experience where people come together and there's a lot of connection. I can imagine that is happening now in Gothenburg, where you're creating this event.
Yeah.
So go and join. Go enjoy Plogga.
Yeah, it's simple.
Now, let's say someone is as excited as we are right now in this conversation, and they want to help somehow our environment, maybe their own health. What is some steps they can do to help themselves, our environment, and your organization?
Well, first of all, we are in the plogga foundations, and you can become a member. And we will supply you with different tools and a toolkit, as we do with Swedish ambassadors all around the world. Did you know where the biggest fitness trend in India is right now?
No idea.
That is plogging, of course.
What?
Yes. And the world record, where do you think the world record for plogging is?
India?
No, it's actually Mexico City. It was 4,500 people were plugging at the same time in Mexico City.
Wow. So this started in Sweden and it spread globally.
Yeah. So it was me that started, but actually it was my girlfriend from Gothenburg. She had the Gothenburg humor, so she made up the name.
Okay. That is super impressive. So what can someone do to help you?
Well, you can look on our webpage, both the Swedish and the English one, plogga.se, and we are a really tiny organization, but our aim is, I like to have this in all the schools. I like to the kids go plogging at least 6 times a year. And if you do that more often than once a year, you will change their attitude, you will change them. So the way they're thinking, because the brains don't really accept if you only do it once a year. So it's well, we need a lot of funding. Well, I'm more or less by myself, so it's a tough job.
I see. And at the same time, I think it's hugely important what you do. So I really do hope your visions and dreams become more and more a reality. Erik, thank you so much for taking the time to speak with Great.com today.
It's been a pleasure, and well, we can. This shows it's not that hard to make a change, is it? Just just bend down and pick it up.
First step, right? This was fun. And hey, you listening, if you also enjoyed this conversation and want to help us out, what you can do is you can go into your podcast app and press subscribe. Because if you do, that's really going to help us to spread and get into different top lists. And then more people can hear these kinds of inspiring and uplifting conversations. And we see you in the next interview.